Welcome, friends, to Content Matters. My name's Alex. This is Sean. This is Kyler. What's up, boys?
Good morning. How's everyone?
It is December 31st. It's the last day of 2023, so we're getting a good pod in. We got a lot to cover today, and I hate small talk, so we're gonna get right to business. Is that good?
Let's do
That's
it.
great.
Okay. We started the show. We wanted to talk about we're all videographers, but we want to talk about business. And I think this show, I'd love to get right into what you're talking about. Actually, Sean gave us a bunch of lists to talk about. The first thing I want to do is talk about goal setting. End of the year, everybody's going into 2024. I'm curious. This is good insight. Like, it's really good to understand what somebody's got tinkering around in their head. So, does anyone want to share 2024 goals or your approach to 2024 goal setting or any of that?
Yeah, I'll go first. So let's so every year I actually have like a tradition. I've probably been doing it 5 years now. So it's usually last month. So in December, I just have I started out with paper, but I switched to Notion this year. I'm trying it out.
Notion is life.
Yeah. So yeah, I just have basically the goals that I want for this year or this coming year, and then kind of reflecting. I do this quarterly, but I usually reflect on the quarter of like what did I do for the year or up to the year. So that for business, personal, fitness, and then also like my relationships. So I usually just get all that written down. But yeah, I mean, keep it on the business side. Definitely looking at Way Better Studios, what I want to do with it, and how do we want to grow, or how do we want to service our clients, and how can we improve. So yeah, with that, it's just looking into who do we want to service. Last year we serviced a lot of content creators and then businesses. I want to get more into the business space. Just looking at our income, the businesses that we worked with made a lot of I wouldn't say the majority, but it made a good portion of our income. I was like, okay, honestly, a lot less headache too. But looking at that, I'm like, okay, we need to start working with businesses more. How can we outreach them and land bigger budgets? Because the businesses always have bigger budgets at the end of the day. It's less work and you can hire out crews. So that's us, like me, especially on that side. How can I get a little bit more time back, but I can make more money if I can just focus on the things that are making us the most money. So that's one thing for us. That's huge. And my mindset's already big onto that. Like, how can we do that? That goes into the podcast that we have here, creating YouTube videos on the side, just so we can open up and broaden our reach. So that's what I'm working on.
When you get people that you want as clients, we should have them on the show and we can build rapport with them that way. And then we can hard sell them live.
You could. All right, let's break the numbers down. You're going to get this much exposure. So that's probably a few million. So you guys starting off, it's $1 million budget no matter what.
I have so much to say about that. I actually made a little reel yesterday. I haven't posted it yet about like water bottles. And I'm like, you can be a water bottle and you can live in a 24 pack of 70 cents a bottle, Costco 24 pack, or you can exist in, at a Taylor Swift concert where people are dying of thirst and they charge you $30. Same water.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
same water.
It's all about where you are.
It's just about the and I have more to add to this later, but it's just, dude, get richer clients. That's it. Just get richer clients. They pay better, they complain less. They're happier.
Yep. I think that's a big struggle with creators too, is like they don't know how to get in those rooms around those people. I think that could be a good podcast that we could do in the future. Like, okay, what are the strategies you're using to get in?
Do you know that I'm a master of this? How do you think I live in Maui with Brandon Turner? It's not because I'm the best.
No,
actually, I'll add to that here in a bit. But Sean, what are your goals?
So I kind of have the Noah Kagan approach with something that's numerical, something that's system based, and then something that's like progress based. So numerical. I have like my gross target, and then what I want to net and take home, and then also just get some more automated systems within putting money away. That's why later when we have the finance question, I wanted your opinion on that. And then system based is something that's like more like the frequency. Like, so for example, I was like, I should rock climb outside at least once a month. Like, that seems super attainable. I'd say super excited about it. Something to look forward to at the some point during the month, and like stuff like that, for fitness at least. But that's like one of them that comes to mind. And then kind of progress based is just something that makes sure I'm on like the right trend and doing something, going in the right direction. But I was thinking that it'd be cool to bike up to my cabin and maybe like film the process of training for it, because like my dad and his brothers did it in college when they were like 18, pre-cell phone, no internet, no Google Maps. And I was like, oh man, that'd be sick. But like I could like rig out my bike with GoPros and like have Bluetooth speaker and like get my cousin to like help film stuff, and I don't know. So I want to try to bring back a little bit more of the passion for creating projects and doing things. Like for me, like that's why like something like this is so much fun, because we're like putting ourselves out there and doing it, something for us in the business, and learning along the way, holding each other accountable. But yeah, because doesn't Brandon have a live goal workshop coming up?
Yeah, that's actually how that was the first thing I really did with Brandon when I started kind of getting us in his sphere. But last year we did a live webinar. It's like 4 hours, but me and my fiance did it together. We did goal setting. It's very holistic. It's financial, it's career, it's family, it's spirituality, it's fitness, it's environment. Yeah. It's kind of like that. It's a lot like what we did at the summit, but it's maybe a little bit more in depth actually. But it costs $25. The $25 goes straight to charity. And it's a really good way, especially, you buy one ticket, you bring your fiance on, or your wife on, or your girlfriend on. So it's not like you have to get two, right? But if you have a significant other and you want to do goal setting with them, it's a good way to sit down. It's like 4 or 5 hours. It's a commitment, but man, it kind of does. He has a really good way of like turning the rest of the world off and you being like, no, we're focused now on the future and we're going to write it all out. And it is very healthy. In fact, I wish I could do it more. I did about 3 times this year, but it's not enough. But it always grounds me. So highly recommend.
When is that?
The 5th. Oh God, you know what? I should know that. I will be there.
In person only, or is it online?
No. It's online. It's the 4th. It's 7 p.m. 7 p.m. my time. That can't be right. No, that can't be right. It's got to be 7 p.m. East Coast time on the 4th. Look it up, bro. Brandon Turner. It's like goal setting webinar 2024. Oh, here you go. Oh,
You sent it to me on Instagram. Enjoy it.
Yeah, this is I sent it to you I texted you. Here, this is sorry for the lull in our show here. Yeah, there you go. Join.abetterlife.com/goal setting. So $25. Last year was $100. This year is $25. It all goes to charity.
Yeah.
Sweet. I'm gonna sign up to that.
Yeah, if you go live, there's you win a chance to win a free trip to Maui and a 2-hour in-person coaching session with Brandon. So there's some cool stuff to come.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's value right there. For $20, come on.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's worth a lot more than that. And it'll be fun. So my goals, I hit a lot of goals this year. I didn't track them as well. I love your Notion tracking, Kyler. I've been blogging my goals for like 5 years, and this is like the first year I really slacked off on my blogging, and I feel like it hurt me because something about sitting down, looking at your goals and writing them and reading them and staying close to them gets them done. And when you write them on the December 31st, and then you don't look at them again until December 31st the next year, it don't work. So having them written down, having them in public, is something I need to I'm finishing up a project right now, and then I'm going to write everything out really thoroughly and put it online like I usually do, and that helps me coalesce. But I find myself in a really interesting, let's say narrative. Everybody lives by narrative. So what I did for 8 years, I bought real estate, and along that time, I got my camera. And what I love about creatives is everybody has a different way. It's the same thing as business. Everybody has a little bit slightly different way. But I find myself in the very unique position that I am probably the most talented camera person in the real estate investor world. Not to say that they're not people who are more talented than me that work for real estate investors, but I doubt there's anybody with the camera skills that I have that owns as much real estate as I do and like blends those two. And so this last year I took a break from that because I've been working for Brandon. It's sort of adjacent. It's not the same thing. But I really want to get back to that. Real estate's coming back. Deals are coming back. And so what I want to do, what I'm good at is I'd like to partner, and we can kind of transition if you'd like to this story, but like I'd like to partner with real estate operators that I know, provide them media, raise them money, and then get pieces of deals. And that's what I was sort of doing back in 2020 and 2021. I was going to these big syndicators. I was providing them media that nobody else in the industry is creating. No one was creating media like I was creating. What they do is they raise money. They go get a drone operator and they get a couple of drone shots and they just show the property off. What I was doing is I was getting the operators in front of the property and being like, why this property? How'd you find it? How'd you get it? And usually they do that stuff on a webinar, but if you could tell that story with music and emotion and them sitting in front of the property, it's much more powerful, especially sometimes like I filmed this property in Winston-Salem when the trees were changing colors. So like at sunrise, like all the autumn, red and yellow and orange trees and stuff. So it just looked like it was one of my best pieces yet. But I'd like to do that, and that is a specialty of mine. Like you said, Carlos, about like I know these people. I can get in these rooms. I can bring a media, and I speak the investor language. I can usually bring money. So I would like to do more of that. I think that's deep in my skill set and hard to replicate. It would hard be for somebody else to go to an operator and be like, hey, I'm going to make you some media and I'll bring you $1 million and I want you to pay me some 6 figures between cash and equity. So I think that's something I want to do. I don't really have any content goals, which is sad, but I got to figure out that I find myself like, I'm going to make a YouTube. I'm going to do a blog. I'm going to do an Instagram. It's like, dude, I got to pick one.
It's tough.
It's tough. It's tough. So
you just got to keep creating though. If you're inspired to write it.
Yeah, that's where the entrepreneurs beat us. They're like, just pick one thing and just do it every day. And the creatives are like, I can't do the same thing every day. I want to do what I feel like doing.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
It's so true. But my big goal for 2024 is to, I think if I look back at my life, it seems, what seems obvious to other people is not always obvious to ourselves. But this blend of cameras plus investing is something that is a superpower of mine, and I have leaned into it, but not with such clarity. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to actually make real money doing that.
Those are solid goals. No, I like that.
And write it down. I think that's a big piece. I think everybody needs to do that. Sean, you need to do that. Get Notion, write down your goals.
Yes.
Put it on a 2023 tab, a little drop down tab, and then collect them for decades.
When you guys set your goals, do you do it just for the year, or are you looking at forecasting like, okay, this is going to take longer than a year, so I need to prepare heading into year 2, because if I don't get year 1 right, then it's going to slow down the progress of something that I want to head into year 2. That's kind of how I am. But
I write down I'm not a planner. I'm an idea person. So I actually, the farther we get into the weeds, the harder I get. But basically what I do is I write a vivid vision and I'm like, here's what I look like in 3 to 5 years. Here's what it looks like. And then I work backwards. Yeah. Okay, what do I need to get there? And that becomes basically 1 goals. And then that becomes quarterly goals. And that becomes like, okay. And then here's a great question that Brandon Turner is absolutely magnificent. This question is changing my life every time I think about it and like actually sit down and deal with it. Is how can you achieve your 5-year goal in 6 months? What would it take to do that? And that really gets you thinking about like, what do I have to, what what would that take? And you start going like, oh, I have to do this. And you're like, I don't want to do that right now. And that really starts to put you in a conundrum of like, am I not? Generally for me, it's like, I can do this, but I either have to do something wildly uncomfortable or I have to make hard decisions faster than I am comfortable with. Yeah. So it's just, it becomes a discomfort problem. It's never like, oh, it's not possible. It's like, oh no, it's just it's an activity problem.
What's my threshold of discomfort?
No, that's so funny that you say that too. I look at them, my goals, same way, very similar. It's like the hard things, actually, because the goal setting thing was, all right, I'm 29, I'm turned 29, 2024, early February. So
you're a baby.
Okay. When I hit, let's say 35, I'm like, okay, what do I want in my life? Because I look at my personal goals, but then my career goals. And I'm like, okay, well, if I wanted to go down the route of having a family, do I want to be that father that's like working all the time that doesn't have time to spend with his family? So that changes what sometimes I feel like my goals will be for my career. Cause it's like, okay, well, it's probably not a good idea to get into a tech startup and grind and work 90 hours a week all through your 30s if you want to have a family in your 30s and want to spend time with them. It's just like a give and take kind of thing. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I'm not having kids.
On that?
I think the thing about kids that I see is there's almost everybody in the world has kids, and there's people that make money. There's people that make lots of money with kids. Elon's got 10 kids.
Right.
Gates has kids. Bezos has kids. Buffett has kids. Charlie Munger has kids. Everybody rich has kids. So this RIP. So this idea that like people are like, oh, you can't have kids and make money. I'm like, Hermosi's got kids. Pineda's got kids. They're still having kids. Brandon's got 2 kids and trying for more. Like, I honestly, this is a so fucked up thing to think. I think that the reason I don't make more money is because I don't have kids. Because I don't have to wake up and go like take care of somebody. I'm like, yo, life's easy. I'm fine. It's too easy.
It's true. I don't think Hermosi has kids though, does he? Did you say Hermosi?
No, he doesn't have kids. I'm wrong. Yeah, he doesn't have kids. Yeah. But kids are not going to slow him down. It's not. He doesn't make that money because he doesn't have kids. Because I don't have kids and I don't make that money. So
yeah.
I do think there's this idea that if you're in a tech startup and you're working 90 hours a week, I think the most important thing would be to have a spouse who is on board with the team plan. Like, hey, I need you to raise these kids and I'm going to take care of both of you, but I'm going to go work my little tail off. I think if you have a spouse that's like, I want you to be home and around and you want to be around, then the sacrifice then has to come from the financial. Or look, there's plenty of people that work 30 hours a week and make millions too. So it's just figuring it out. How to money is a game, and like some people, there's many different ways to figure it out. And so it's just about using your skills to manipulate the game in the way that you like. You know, if you're in sales, you can make the most amount of money. I'm not a workaholic, so I have to do it a different way, you know. And I say I don't like sales, but like I'm not a hardcore sales guy. I'm an investor, so it's just like, can you buy enough investments so you live cheap? I think the thing that, I don't know you as well, Kyler, I think Sean, the thing that I want to imbue with Sean over this year is, you know, I want to teach him, or I don't want to say it that way. That's rude. I want you to learn about that. You trading dollars or time for dollars is the least efficient way to make money. We have got to get your money working for you when you're not working for it. When you can do that, then the whole world changes. You got to find a way to. Some people call it leverage. Some people call it passive income. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the solution for you. Like, hey, what am I going to do with my career and my kids? I'm like, you have to level up so that you're not like, oh, I have to go work 90 hours to make ends meet. If you're working 90 hours to make ends meet, you just haven't figured. You're not playing the game the right way. And I'm not. Yep. I'm not great at it either, so that's not a dig. That's just as much of a message to myself, you know. Like I'm trying to figure it out better too.
Yeah.
I think that's where you do well, though, Alex. Is you're really good at leveraging your connections. Of like, okay, how can we win together, right? It's like, I'm not going to do all this because it's not what I'm good at. But you can get the pieces together of like, okay, this guy kind of knows this. This guy knows this. If we're all working towards a similar goal, how can we all make money or accomplish something together? I think that's a skill set, right? That's a visionary, right? That's
I'm
an
a
entrepreneur.
I need to start writing a book about networking because like I just know. You ever have a superpower that you're like, I'm 40. I just turned 40, and I'm starting to realize that not everybody can connect people like I connect people. Like I'm not even bragging as much as like I'm just figuring it out. I'm like, oh, I'm like a power networker, and
What
it comes so naturally to me.
have you been like that your whole child, like growing up?
No, I was a
Or
loser
was
in
there
high school.
something that kind of
Yeah, I was a loser
so what
until
flipped
like
the script?
25.
Script.
Um, some of it was like maturity. When I was younger, I was way too aggressive. Like I feel like I'm pretty aggressive now, but like before, I used to be very hostile and way more aggressive. So
Mm.
that turns people off. You have to be Taleb, my hero Taleb. If you don't know this, I think says every day of my life. Never mind, never show. But my hero Taleb, he says, charm is the ability to insult people while making them laugh. And that is sort of so you have to. But if you're just insulting people, and they're not laughing, then it's just not nobody's having fun. So I think I had to tone down my personality a bit. But no, the number one key to networking, and this is something again, it came over time, but I genuinely deep down super actually give a shit about people. Like I'm not an empath necessarily. Like I'm not like deeply feel like, oh, I feel their emotions for them. It's like, no, I just actually genuinely want Kyler to succeed. Really.
Mm.
And so then I'll call you and be like, what's going on in your life that has a problem? And how can I solve it? And it turns out I know everybody. So whatever your problem is somebody else's superpower. And I'll connect you. And then you guys can make money. And then
Right.
I take the goodwill. And then as years go on, that goodwill adds up. And then people are like, hey, Alex, we need this or we want that. Or like, hey, I get phone calls. Everybody answers my phone calls. Nobody ever, you know what I mean? Because I just have so much goodwill built up. So, I don't know if that's helpful. I'm ranting.
Oh, that's good advice. Are you on your phone all the time? Kind of like talking to people? Is that how like your day to
Isn't
day
everybody?
is?
Yeah. Yeah. If I could spend the day on various forms of between text or phone calls or video calls, I'd make the most money.
That's no, I see you're very similar into one of my old bosses that I knew, where that guy grew his business so fast, but he was a master networker. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I don't even know. Yeah. Always on
I need
his
to
phone.
write some of this stuff down. I have some stuff written down, but I need to write more. But there's a couple of things. I mean, I don't mean to go down this tangent, this rabbit hole, but like if you want to like the easiest thing I could think of for both of you guys, right? Or anybody who's listening, if you want to this is so simple. It's just one of those things that's kind of scary. Kyler said to me earlier, said on the show, he's like, I want to scale 2 businesses. So like, what if you took a day, 5 hours, and you like went with your team and you're like, who are the 5 businesses that if we only worked with these 5 businesses in 2024, we'd make a monstrous killing. We'd make all the money we need, and all we need to do is have 5 clients. Write those 5 clients down. Okay. I will tell you exactly. And then I can get them. I can get you in their sphere. You just have to. This is so fucked up. This is my number one networking strategy. It sounds so terrible, but it 100% works. I use a strategy called Stockholm Syndrome. Are you familiar with what Stockholm Syndrome is?
I've heard of it, yes.
Stockholm
I don't
Syndrome
know
is
what
when you like somebody kidnaps somebody else, like actually kidnaps like a woman. You kidnap a woman, you put them in your basement, or you take them hostage for like and the FBI is negotiating, right? In the movies, like you have a hostage situation, and then what happens is the hostagee, right? The hostage starts siding with the captor. They're like, oh, I understand his plight now, and he's not so bad, and he's just misunderstood, and yada yada. And you're like, how does it? It's called Stockholm Syndrome, right? That's how this sounds. So what I do is I go to people and I'm like, okay, Jay Scott, I want you in my life. I'm going to text you. You're going to ignore me. I'm going to text you. You're going to ignore me. I'm going to see you at a conference. I'm going to just get in your personal space. I'm going to call you. I'm going to text you. I'm going to email you. I'm going to comment you on Facebook. I'm just going to berate you until you're like, I don't want this guy in my life. And I'm like, too bad. Too bad. And now I paired that with what I said earlier, which is I have the purest motives. Like I actually genuinely care about this person. I'm like, how can I actually make your life better? And I'm just going to shove my life into your life until you give me a chance. And then I'm going to step up. And if I don't do a good job, then great. Now I owe you. And now it's going to get even worse. And before too long, people are like, oh, that Alex, he's just misunderstood. He's a good dude. That's it. That's the 100%. I'm relentless. And because I know that I mean well and I want to give more than I take. I have I don't have that pressure of people being like, oh, I'm going to waste his time. I'm not going to waste his time. I'm going to make his life better. I'm not feeling guilty about that. So that's it. If you wrote down your 5 top clients and then you're like, I'm just going to text them every single day until I get all the business I need, 100% that will work.
Huh. I'm going to do that. That's that's funny that you say that. It's because it's super valuable. I'm like opposite. Well, I wouldn't say I'm opposite, but it takes a lot of willpower for me to be like, I'm going to keep bothering this guy until like he says yes. That's like overcoming that. It was just, for me, it's like, all right, growing up, you're raised like, all right, don't bother this person. Don't be, you got to be polite. Especially coming from like an Asian type of family, we're conservative. Like we're taught to be polite.
Culturally,
it's completely opposite.
It's definitely, this is what I'm saying is definitely a culturally American thing.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, never talk back type of thing. Like, so learning this stuff throughout business and seeing it from other people, at first it's like a shock for me because I'm like, even seeing like hardcore sales guys, like I'm like, dude, I have a friend, he kills it. He does, 6 figures in sales every year, since he was like 18. But I'm like, dude, I see him because he works from home. And I was at home with him one day and he's just on this person nonstop. I'm like, dude, how many times have you like talked to this person? I feel like you're best friends with him. He's like, yeah, this is like my 6th time calling. I'm like, geez, I'm like, how much are you gonna make from that? Like, but it's a repetition thing. And for me, that shaped my viewpoint on sales of like, okay, like there's people out there that just, they won't take no. And that's why they're succeeding. Where other sales guys that come in, they come and go because it's just like one no, they're done. So
Grant Cardone wrote a book called Sell or Be Sold. Old book. He's not really well known for it. Really great book. And the idea is like either somebody's going to sell you on no or you're going to sell them on yes.
Yep.
I think about that. Also, I was in the car business. I sold cars for a while. And, there's this old saying. It's like you just call them every day until they buy or die.
That's good. Yeah.
And you know what? It's like, again, you really have to, I want to be really clear here because somebody's going to listen to this and be like, man, that's just obnoxious. And I'm like, it's not obnoxious because I genuinely, truly, deeply believe that I come with pure soul. I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm not selling a product. I'm selling Alex. You want Alex. Alex is good. Alex is a good investment. You need him in your life. And when you get him in your life, I'm like, hey, I'm going to call you up and be like, how can I make your life better? Have I ever called you guys and asked for anything other than like, hey, can we do a podcast together so we all win? Because we all want to make content and hang out. Like, Sean, did I call you with Better Life and say, hey, can you come do this for free?
No, it was paid and it was great. A lot of fun.
It was easy. Kyler, we do business together. Am I hard to do business with?
Nope. Actually, you're probably one of the easiest clients that we work with. So
yeah, I just here. Can you make this thing? Yep. Paycheck. Can you here's some business. Would you like some business, Kyler? Right? Is that a really hard sell for me to be like, hey, can I make you money?
I would not say no to that. I would never refuse that.
Nobody would. So that's my point. Is like if you shove your life into people's life and you're like, I want to make you money, or more very clear, it's very specific. Not everybody wants to make money, or not. That's not everybody's goal. It's like, what's your goal? That's what I usually ask people. I say, what's your biggest obstacle in life? And they're like, well, this. And I'm like, great. Either I can solve it, or if I can't solve it, then I'm like, let me go find the person who can. Hey, you need this guy over here. Hey, Brandon, we need a video editor. I'm like, I got Kyler. Hey, we need a guy at Better Life who's going to shoot this conference because Alex can't do it alone. Great. I got this guy, Sean.
Yeah.
So anyways, I don't know if that's helpful, but I gotta make some more content about networking, but like that's the number one, that's like the number one big is have a pure soul, have a heart for people, and then just shove your life into their life.
Well, then if you bring the camera as the third thing that we all have in common, cameras gets us in rooms.
Dude, the camera's the best networking tool in the world. Because almost everybody in this world, in this industry, is a egomaniac, and they all want to look good on camera. And if you can make them look good once, man, they're like, oh, we'll have you around.
If you're an introvert and you have a camera and you're not good at networking, at least in the beginning, bring the camera, because the camera does a lot of talking for you. It really does. That was that was me, little shy kid with the camera, and then you learn, but still, like, the camera's so powerful.
Shy and introvert are different.
I'd say shy. Well, not so much introverted.
Most people are shy. I have moments where I'm shy. But shy and introvert. People, what they do is they say I'm an introvert as an excuse to not get over the uncomfortable, like, oh, I have to go meet people. And it's like, well, that's not introvert. That's just shy, which I understand. I empathize with shy. But introvert is like how much you can take before you have to recharge, which everybody can take some.
I can go all day. Yeah. No, it's a shy thing for sure.
Yeah.
Just like a warm up, right? And then once you're in, it's like, boom, let's go.
Yeah, I have tips for that too, but that's a whole I'm already clogging all the air on this podcast.
What else we got?
What else we got, Sean?
Okay. All right. Well, this was more of a finance question, but I want to know what you think of the idea of what should you aim for, I guess, for your annual percentage increase in growth rate, whether it's, index funds or real estate. Because my buddy and I had a topic, we were talking about it, and he was like, you need to be getting 7 to 10% annually on interest. And I thought it was a good conversation that we had, and I wanted to bring it up with you guys. What is your ballpark goal for what you're trying to get return with your money?
That's a weird question.
I'll put it this way. Like, I guess if you're talking to like a financial advisor or something like that, they'll always be like, okay, we're aiming for like this type of return, because they're usually looking at what ETFs and index funds and all that stuff. For me, when I look at like business, if I were to get like a 7 to 10% return, I'm like, why? What's the point? So for me, at least, when I look at returns, it's more so, I don't really look at it from a percentage standpoint. I guess I do, but also like my first thing is value add. I'm like, okay, what can we do to improve customer experience that customers want? So from that, it's talking to customers of like what they need, right? And then from there, you can build the stuff that they want, or start acquiring the things that they want. Like, for example, some of our clients were like, we need thumbnails. I was like, first I was like, we don't do that. I don't want to do that. It's just something else that we have, that we don't want to deal with. I want it to stay small. But we keep getting asked for it. And then people are like, we'll pay for it. We'll pay for it. I was like, okay, if we're going to do it, we're going to charge you this much, because I don't want to do it. And they're like, okay, we'll do it. And from there, then it was like, okay, we need to get a graphic designer. Okay. And then we start figuring out what they want. And from there, it's like, okay, we're looking at the margin now of like, okay, how much are we going to make from each, let's say, graphic? And then from there, we're running the percentages. And then that just adds on to whatever else we're selling them, or whatever else we're working on with them. And that was kind of the cool thing, is like finding this product market fit. But from that standpoint, and then you're looking at your overall margins per quarter, whatever, per month, your P&L. That's what we look at. That's what I look at, the P&L, right? Reading the financial statements of like, okay, how much are we making this month? What's our projections? Naturally, we know, okay, we're going to be making this on average. How can we add a little bit more without kind of ruining the quality by taking on too many clients? It's like a balance for us. Like, okay, we want to grow, but also you don't want to kill your product or your service by taking on too much and letting down all your clients too. So that's how I look at it. It's always just this what is that called, the balancing thing?
Yeah.
But, it's a balance. It's a balancing game for us. I never look at like, oh, we need to hit 7, as long as we hit 10% return throughout the whole year, we're solid. I feel like that's like maybe
more
a real estate,
investing.
I don't know. But
it's an investing question. That's not like in business, if you're only hitting 10%, it's like, dude. Yeah.
you're running a restaurant or a grocery store.
Well, all right, yeah, we could change the question. What do you think it should be for business? But yeah, I was thinking more like long term, just like money I'm trying to throw away for the long term. But I like the question the business better.
Yeah,
Well,
that's just based off my experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if they're growing like 30-40% a year, how would you feel about that?
I feel like it depends on your industry, because we actually talked about this yesterday. Like a lot of the production guys we talked to, they're making 30, some are making 20%, some are making 50%. And it's like, it varies, and probably varies on each industry that you're in the production space. Because if you're making 20% on $100 million budget, then it's like, okay, but 20% on $100, that's not too good. So it all depends there. And then you get into the other sectors of like, all right, a restaurant's probably only going to do like 10%, and then grocery stores are like 2% margins, and that's considered good because they're just doing so much volume. So you really have to look at the space that you're in. But I think Hormozi turned that whole thing on its head, where it's like, he's like, I make 70% or more on every business that I'm in. And then you're like, okay, I was actually doing the numbers on this, because we do some projects we'll make like 30%, some will make 50, some will make more than that. I'm like, how is this guy consistently doing 70-80%? I was like, we couldn't possibly cut any more to get what he's doing. So I was like, the only other thing is you have to sell higher ticket. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the only
you have
way
to
you make more.
Or you sell more product without increasing marginal labor.
That too. Yes.
Yeah. Naval Ravikant, if you guys have not read, my 2024 goal is to get you guys to read more business books. The Almanac of Naval Ravikant is one of the best ones. It's a very easy read, but he's like, there's only you make money in 4 ways. The 4 levers. You either leverage technology, like AI, or like code. You write code. People, you multiply yourself, or network connections. Capital, right? It's like, I can do more because I have more money. Or content. So like anything from like, hey, I made this one video and it got me X amount of views, and that became affiliate money or brand deals. Or I made this content and it, or the one example he uses, he's like, what if you make a training video on how to do something, and that can train all your employees, and now you have to make one video and it trains all these people. So those ways of scaling are this is where I talked about earlier, where it's like, if you're doing dollars for labor, it's the least efficient scale. So we all have to get out of that.
Yeah. No, I listened to the podcast on YouTube for that. The novel one. That's amazing. I think I listened to that during COVID. I was just at home and I was listening. I was like, that changed my life. Actually totally made me look differently into
Naval,
how you view work. Yeah, Naval.
He's so good.
He was on Rogan's podcast too. I listened to that one. It was really good.
He's a sort of a recluse in a weird way. He's not like he's on Twitter, but he doesn't put his face on there. Like he's kind of what I love about him is like his thoughts speak for themselves. He's not out there like, let me dye my hair and get some attention. He's like, let me tell you something I've made millions, and I will give you the wisdom, and it'll stand on its own.
Yeah. No, I love his work.
Sean, to your point, because I am an investor first. I'm sort of learning entrepreneurship now, but I started off as an investor, and I like being an investor first because it creates a lot of stability. But then I started hanging out with these entrepreneurs, and now I'm like, fuck, I got to make more money. So I am really good at efficiency of money, but I have not really learned how to make money at above scale yet. But 7 to 10. Here's what I'll say: the S&P makes an average of 8% per year if you look at a long scale, right? Because like what last year it was way down. This year it's 24% up. So you have to look at an average, and so what I'll say is this: if the market average, if you do nothing and you invest in the S&P, you're going to make 8%. So and this is where there's this big argument. It was an argument. Now it's settled. But if you're investing and you're choosing your stocks and you make less than 8%, that means you did more work to make less money. If you just buy the ETF, that's the exchange traded fund. If you just buy the index fund and you sit it there and you do nothing, you'll make 8%. So if you're working more and earning less than 8%, you're below average and working harder. Like you're exponentially worse than doing nothing. So when you choose investments, like that's the benchmark, is you either have to beat the S&P, you have to beat the S&P. And the thing is, almost no funds beat the S&P. Most funds, I mean, people beat the S&P all the time, but most don't. So like if you're a day trader, if you're like a very experienced trader and you know what you're doing, you can beat the S&P. But most people who are doing casually do not. They actually work way harder and make less. It was like something like a 20-year bet with Warren Buffett. And he's like, I'll bet you that the ETF will beat the fund, like the investment advisors that people that your parents pay to manage 401ks and manage their fucking their money and stuff like that. You pay them 1%, and then they actually do worse than the S&P over time. It's like proven. So it's better to just not choose stocks and just invest in the S&P. So when you ask me like, what's the best way to do it? If you're gonna invest, just buy the ETF, because you don't have the time to become an experienced trader. So just buy the ETF and sit on it. If you're going to do anything more than that, like buy real estate, like my real estate did real well this year, and not to mention there's other weird things about real estate. For example, my real estate went up 15% this year. That doesn't include the cash flow it paid me, which is now above the American average salary that comes in without me doing any work. And that's after expenses. It doesn't include depreciation, because every year I get to write off the interest. And it doesn't include the equity that I can then borrow against. So, but I bought it all underpriced. So when it comes to investing, I think 7 to 10% is good, but that's the average. You should be able to earn 7% without doing anything. I guess that's kind of where I'm at.
Sure.
This year my Robinhood is up 44%. But last year it was down like 30%. So I'm actually net loss over the last 2 years.
Wow.
Not net loss, but I'm net negative. Yeah.
-10.
Yeah. But it's that, well, see, the math gets weird, because if you lose 10%, you don't have to gain 10% to get back to square one. You actually have to gain like 130%, 150%. That's why it's so weird with investing. If you lose money, if you lose 10% and you gain 10%, you're still a 90% loss. 9% loss. Right? If you have $100 and you go down to 90 and you gain 10%, you're now at 91 or 99. You have to get another 10, another, you know what I mean? Like, so you have to go above the loss. So like, losses hurt more than wins.
Wow.
Yep. Makes sense. For your rentals, do you own single family, multi-units, mixed? What do you rent? What do you own?
I own a bunch of single families, mostly single families. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I own one apartment building.
How many units is that? How many doors?
52.
Oh, wow. So that one's big.
Yeah, I had a 24 unit and I sold it in 21 because somebody dumber than me wanted to buy it and paid me quite a bit of money actually for it. And then I have this 52 unit, and I just closed 2 days ago on I closed on a mansion on Chesapeake Bay, Maryland, a 400-acre, built in the 1600s with a vineyard on it.
You said 400 acres?
I did say 400 acres.
Wow.
So you got a whole farm.
It's a farm. It's called Bohemia Manor Farm. You want to see it?
That's crazy.
I'll put it in the chat. Actually, here, I'll screen share it for the viewers. How's that?
Yes. How do you add the sound effects where like it's celebration and like the confetti flies?
Oh yeah. Can you see this? Can you see my screen?
Look at empty.
Loading.
Yeah, it's
Look at this
there we
thing.
go.
Look at this thing.
Jesus.
So they bought it for $8.9 million. It appraised at like 10.5 day one. It's right on the bay. Look at that.
Holy
Wow.
crap.
So this is a great example. I got this property because 2 years ago I went to a friend of mine who I've known for a bunch of years. This is a networking tip, right? This is where I want all the content creators to go, right? I went to a buddy of mine's who I know, and I wanted to get to know him better. So I was like, hey, let me come tell a story about you. And he's like, okay, sure. And so I go to Maryland, I go to New Jersey, and I go to another one of his properties. and I just make a video about him on YouTube, which that's the guy. This video gets 368 views in the last year. Okay, no views, no comments, but look at this place. He loved it. Okay, this is his New Jersey property. This is a different property, but it's also a luxury resort with a winery, a vineyard, and a golf course.
Wow.
So I make this video with this guy.
Is like a mix, yeah.
Wait, tell me.
So this is like a mixed use kind of property. So it's like it's like a hotel. It's also a farm. It's also the golf course.
Yeah, they have weddings there, dude.
That's crazy.
It's
Okay.
crazy. So I make this video about this guy. It's a nothing. It's just a little vlog about a guy that I find interesting, and I just loved it. I did it for fun. Okay. And, it's got this wild story. So anyways, here's the thing. This is where I really want to this is where I think the creatives, and I'm guilty because the thing with creative is when you start off, you're terrible. So you have to earn your keep along the way. But when you get good, Kyler, this is the problem I'm thinking about with you, where you're like, I got to get these bigger clients. I'm like, this guy right here, I made this video for him. He loves this video. He loves this video. He loves the work we did. And he's like, I want more of that. I want to tell my story. I want to tell the story of these properties. I want to show it to investors. And so what happens is he's like, Alex, here's what we're going to do. I want you on the team. And I set aside a little bit of money on the deal to include you. And I want you to make some media. But I want you around so you can make more than just once. I want you to make media for me. So yeah, that share is $100,000. Now that's equity. That's no cash.
Yeah.
So this is where the investor mindset you have to really understand. That $100,000 doesn't pay me anything. It's just it's make believe money.
Right.
Until 5 years when we cash out, but then that share will probably be worth, 200, and then it'll start paying cash. So, I forgot how we got here, but I forgot how did this part of the conversation start? But we talk about
bartering, and getting included in deals almost, or exchanging, talent for
I think
and adding value.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I did in the beginning was I was like, who needs a video? I need to make I'm worth $1,500 for a video. Who needs a $1,500 video? Instead, I look at brands, I look at people, and I look at their biggest problem. And I go, okay, this guy's got to raise money, right? He's got to raise $4 million. And he has to tell that story to people. And so if you're that's a big project, $4 million. So it's like, hey, you got to have something high quality. You got to put your face on there. We got to tell the story. And it's not something that everybody else can do. So I think finding those people, Kyler, Sean, instead of like, hey, making these reels, I don't like it. It's soulless work to me. It's just another marketing reel, another hooks. Instead, if you can tell stories and you can get something like this guy really appreciates the work. I think you can trade for him. The $100,000 is nothing. He's like, oh, I got this little bonus. I can get Alex on the team for basically for free. So I think that's where we talked earlier about water bottles. It's like, dude, he's just not going to buy a Costco water bottle. He's like, I can spend $30 on a water bottle. I love this Alex flavored water. So like, let's go.
Yeah, no, that's really good. It's actually got me thinking too, because that's what I was thinking too. Is the business right now let's call them like retail customers, where it's just like, okay, they'll pay up front, and then you have the other customers where it's it's a little bit different. You can work and do customized things or whatever. Those deals could be the thing that just runs and kind of builds my portfolio on the back end, where I use the company I have now as like the front, and then it helps me get the deals on the back, just because of the value that we could bring to someone who's, let's say, trying to create pitch deck type of videos for investors or whatever it may be.
Yeah. So you guys are all working with entrepreneurs. I guess the question I have is, what kind of entrepreneur do you want to work with?
For me,
Well,
for me at least, it's I like working with. There's two types of clients I enjoy working with. It's the corporate ones where they're just so big. I don't talk to the CEO. I talk to them, the marketing person or whoever it is. they have budget set aside every year and they need to spend the money. And for them, it's not getting Instagram famous, because a lot of those businesses they're just not there to be famous. They're there for brand awareness. They're there to create educational videos for their customers. That easy, because I can hire out a crew. We'll get it done. It takes a few days. Bigger return. Secondly, it's entrepreneurs that aren't really there. Yeah, it's ego driven, right? They want to be seen, but they're not there to necessarily be famous. They're there because they're like, okay, I need this video to get me some type of return on whatever I'm trying to grow. So if that's their business, if that's their portfolio, they have, let's say they're a tech startup and they need explainer video, whatever it is. Those types of entrepreneurs I want to work with. Ones that are more like, hey, I need to get famous, they're a little bit tougher to work with, I'll be honest. It's a lot more ego driven, and it's like has to be their way. But my selling point for a lot of people is like, hey, look, I've been around the block. This is not my first, like, I just didn't just start this company because I wanted to. Like, I've seen creators grow. This is what they're doing. And then when they're like, no, I got to do it this way, I'm like, we'll do it that way because you're paying for it, but don't come back at me if it's not working how you want after 3 months, when I told you you probably should have started it this way. So it's like kind of finding that middle line with those clients. And I realized too, it's just like, that's what put a lot of stress on me this year, where I was like, okay, who are the ones that I enjoyed working with? And that's where I'm pushing the business. Like, I'm like, go that way. I don't need the extra headache for a little bit more money. Like, that's where I was like, money doesn't buy you happiness. That's what I learned.
I know a
It
lot
does,
of
but
I know a lot of people that, yeah, they might be happier. The money solves a lot of problems, but money, yeah, the ego, the problems that come with the ego from money overshadow the happiness that it could have bought them.
yeah. And then a lot of times too, those people that are ego driven, you realize that, they talk bigger than what they might actually have in their pockets too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then
So
you're, this is, then you're party to fraud.
so now, I don't want to go into detail.
No, we don't have to go into it. No. But I know what you're
but
saying. It's like, now, do
you
I want to
get what I'm
promote,
saying,
do I want to promote these lies?
Yeah. So that's another thing too, is like, the authenticity thing has always been a huge thing for me. It's like, okay,
This is where
if we're going to work together, you got to know your stuff.
This is where I think the interesting thing about artists and entrepreneurs mixing together is the artist only wins when he's as authentic as possible. The entrepreneur can fluff. In fact, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the presidency in the last few years, but like a little bit of fluff will get you very far in business. Let's just say it delicately. But with artists, it's like, dude, there's very few fraudulent artists that do well, right? It's the authenticity that gets you really far, the vulnerability. And so the merge of the two is like, it becomes very difficult.
Yep. You can't tell an artist when it comes to negotiations, they're like, I don't need it to be. I've talked to a lot of people where it's like, they're trying to get a discount, right? But they always say, I don't need it to look that good. Like, it doesn't need to be that good. I just need it done. I'm like, that's like you going to Picasso and saying, hey, I want you to paint me a custom piece of artwork, but it doesn't have to be that good, so give me a little discount. It destroys his whole reputation of what he's built.
I just want to make sure that everybody knows that Kyler just compared himself to Picasso. Just want to put that out there. I just want to make sure everybody you guys knows that. Sean, what about you?
No.
Do you have a specific sort of avatar in mind?
I think, my slogan before, I think when we met was, purpose driven. I think community focused, people that have new communities or audience that they want to educate, are fun ones and then like, thing I like about Kyler is if you're talking to the marketing manager, it's like I've found with small business owners or the person, if they're the one that hired me and they're writing me the check, they're just like, I don't know if I want to give this to you. Like, this is a lot. But when it's like a marketing manager, they're just like, this is our budget, take it, let's start, So it's like completely different mindset of like, I have a problem and solve this versus like, this is my money and this is my blood, sweat, and tears. But I think always being able to show that we've like made a return. And like, I think that's what's cool with, you're saying it might be kind of tired of the reels and the verticals and like doing kind of more of like a nicer long form, really showing and telling the story, making it a little bit more elaborate. I think things like that are really, really fun. Just kind of documenting the journey. But yeah, that's something that I'm also kind of, has evolved, because a lot of times I'll just say yes to things if the opportunity is there and I can rationalize what I'm going to get out of it beyond just like the monetary gains. It's led to some like really cool accidental intros to get me more work or in the rooms with other people that I want to connect with, where you're just like, okay, like I can only steer the ship so much, and sometimes it's just kind of.
Sean's great at saying yes. If you guys, Kyler, it sounds like Kyler, if you outsourced all of the work that was like, call it money work, like, if you know what I'm saying, if you outsourced all the work that pays the bills and keeps the team alive, and all you focused on was like, I guess, passion work, would that be appealing to you? Is that what you want to do, or do you genuinely just want to build a business for the sake of building the business?
I think it's a mix of both. That's funny that you asked that, because yesterday I had a conversation with my buddy, and we were talking about that. Very similar. I started this whole journey because it was a passion, and then I turned it into a business, which I learned that I love business as well, and that's a passion of mine as well. The business right now, Way Better, right? It's a business that I'm passionate about on the business side. The creative side, there's not much to it, because we're doing stuff that, I'd rather make a documentary or something. No one's paying me to make a documentary about something I want to film. And I don't want to take on an investor money to like raise money to make documentaries. So like short films, they just don't make money. 90% don't make money. So yeah, I mean, this is like a service that we give people and produce for people, and I love the business side of it and learning about other people's businesses. That's another cool thing. Like if you watch, like if I just watch Brandon's video that you guys sent, like I'll learn 10x about what I knew beforehand about real estate just from the value. So it's
by
an
the
easy
way,
way
that
for me
video,
to learn.
that's not a video. That's interactive.
Yeah,
that's a live webinar.
Wait, what
just
are you
talking
about? Oh yeah. No, I'm talking about like when we edit like Brandon's YouTube videos.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah. So like I learn a lot about different industries and different businesses and whatnot
just by being around it.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's like I'm like passionate about making reels for people and stuff where they're just talking to the camera. Like it's a business thing. So that's my thing, is I want to build out Way Better. And I did a decent job of it this year, where it's like I'm not super involved. Like we have project managers in place and people that communicate and send deliverables. But obviously at the end of the day too, like I don't want to just ignore our clients. Like I want to be able to talk to them and get feedback and hear from them. But yeah, I mean, the ones that are easier, like we talked about, those ones, I rather just put my energy in that. Gives me more time, which gives me more freedom to do other things that I want to do. Like if I wanted to go shoot some passion project or take on a client that's more equity based, where it's like, I don't need the cash now, but let's see where this heads in a year, 2 years, whatever, a few years from down the line. Let's do it that way. I'll take on that project, but
right.
I'm not going to, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
What about you, Sean?
Wise.
Sean's a workaholic. I love it. He's a workhorse. But what do you want to do? Like, what about passion? Like, do you have something you want to make that you're now not doing because you're doing gigs? Or I kind of have a feeling like sometimes I'm just like, this guy loves gigs. Like you just love getting in the dirt, like getting in the room and working. I watched you work this weekend. I was like, this guy, I'm going to bring you to every event. You work way harder than me. I'm like, this is great.
Gigs are fun, man. I love it.
But like, is that what you want to do? I mean, and that's not a dig. I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, this year I'd love to like create more of a formal crew team to do events. So when people call me, I'm not just the only workhorse. We bring other kind of talents, and the sum of all the parts is greater than the whole. So like we could, charge more of a premium, be that water, remove ourselves from Costco. If it's like me by myself and put me with like the smart water and the other waters, So I love events. I think events are really fun. The way I look at it too sometimes is like, all right, am I doing this for a monetary gain? Where like, okay, it might not really like it, but it's going to pay me. Otherwise, is this a relationship builder? Am I going to meet people that I want to meet, be surrounded by people that I'm trying to surround myself with? Or is it an experience? Like, am I going to get to be somewhere and go or do something that is maybe in the like bucket list kind of category, or just like nice to haves where you're just like, oh, and it's a free trip to Mexico, might as well, it's like the cherry on top. So I think it's kind of just like consistently filling up those three buckets, and making sure you're getting enough where there's like the experience and it seems fun and like art, and then some for the monetary gain, and then some for the production value where you might be able to learn from other people who have been doing it longer or have better tricks.
Yeah, love it.
It's not bad.
Mic drop.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I'm just curious. Like,
yeah,
it's just a weird world. Mixing entrepreneurship and art is just
it is.
It's a weird world because people want to be, everybody wants to be both. So then I'm like, what is it that what would you want to make? The question I always have is like, what would I make if I had $200 million in cash in the bank? Like, I don't need to go get gigs. So like, what would I actually be like? Okay, what do I want to make with my time? And it's always a hard question to ask,
Like kind of like the
answer.
Next level of that is like, if you've already traveled the world and money was no problem and you could create anything with no recognition and it's just pure passion, what would that be?
Yeah.
I think documentaries would be fun. Telling stories,
That's my thing.
Yeah. Same. Why don't you guys do a document? I'm surprised nobody's done a documentary on Pineda yet. Like, you guys are close.
Hard to follow.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't know him that well. I know him a little bit, but he definitely seems. I gotta be really fucking careful with my words here. He's a little bit. Let's say, is he protective of his sort of? He lives in a structure. It seems like. So it's like, how are you going to get in that structure to tell the vulnerability? Because he's kind of like.
Yeah. You have to hide some of that stuff, especially social media. So I like working with athletes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, professional athletes. I've shot a lot of like world champions in like the mixed martial arts and stuff.
I know Forrest Griffin. You want an intro?
Oh, nice. I've how long ago was this? I've live tweeted. So I was with the UFC social media team in 2017, something like that. I've live tweeted a fight with him where he got to live tweet on our computer, and he was like, dude, he pulled out like a pack of Coronas and whatever, and he's just drinking. We're like, yeah, you can't say that. Delete that. So, it's funny. He's a really nice guy.
Super nice guy.
But yeah, I got to do that once with him. He's super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like athletes. I like people that do like top things that are like champions in their fields, and documenting like how they got there. Because a lot of those guys struggle, especially MMA fighters, in bullying, or like they grew up in not so great neighborhoods and stuff. I think it's really cool to see like how they've gotten to where they are, and then they end up being coaches and stuff like that. So.
It's literally the hero's journey.
Quite literally, yeah.
Yeah, literally.
It's like fighting got them out of wherever they were.
Yeah, I got beat up, so I learned how to beat people up, and then I turned out that the chip on my shoulder was so big that I'm actually really good at this. I can beat anybody up, and now I do it out of honor instead of anger. Yeah, it's like it's the hero's journey.
I'm waiting for someone to do a Mike Tyson documentary still. That's like super good, because I'm like, that guy's journey's crazy.
Yeah, they'll do a biopic after he dies, probably something like that. They'll do like they did Jobs. They'll do like 5 or 6 videos like that. But yeah, I think
Jordan's one was amazing.
I think there's something about these little mini documentaries that I did for a few years. I did 30 of them for Bigger Pockets. I was commissioned to do these little mini documentaries. I went around the country and I did these little mini docs about nobodies, people that were just
How long were they?
I changed my 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
they're YouTube videos. They're not like
they're
documentaries. They're YouTube videos.
Yeah.
They were good practice, but like there was one-man shows for the most part. But I think there's something interesting about doing, kind of like I showed you that video with Josh. I'm like, what if I could do one of those every year? That's the goal where I'm at, where I'm like, now if you want to know this person's story, it's like I have 10 years. And I think it's interesting because now you can show like, dude, that dude ages and like the video quality gets better because I'm better. So like you have like this really interesting sort of meta story along with it where you're like, hey, this is real. I really filmed you in 2021, but then I really filmed you in 2023, but then I really filmed you, for 10 years. And now you can go back and put something together. So I think that is like there's like a list of 10 people in my life that are all entrepreneurs that I'm like, one of the things I did for 2024 at the end of the year, I did this breath work. Sean and I did this breath work at the event, which it quite literally changed my life. It quite literally changed the trajectory of my life because it was so intense. But on the second day, one of the things that I said to myself in clarity was like, I don't know what business to choose, but I know what people to choose. And so as soon as I got out of that the next day, I texted 10 people in my life that are in various forms of my life of like integrated already. And I was like, hey, for whether you know it or not, like I want to spend the next 10 years building a relationship, wealth, and community with you. Not everybody, but you and these other 8 people. And I gave everybody the names. And I was like, I'm going to do this. Earlier, I said you like shoving my life in people's life. I was like, whatever you need, I want you to think of me first or second or whatever it is. Like, I want to be in the top of the list. And I want that for the next 10 years. I'm going to build my life. I'm going to build a life with you, whether you like it or not. And so I think now I need to go off and do mini docs about those 10 people and probably just do that every year. And that would be a very fun journey for me, especially people that are going places. Cause like, oh, in 10 years, they're gonna be a big deal. And now I have all this candid footage on the way.
Yeah. No, those are the best too. I love those documentaries as well. Seeing like where people end up 10 years. They're kind of like social experiments in a way too.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
You can kind of document and see. Yeah.
Sean, we have a couple of things we didn't go over, but we're at an hour and 5 minutes. Do you want to wrap and just save it we'll do another episode? We're probably a little behind. You want to do another episode in like 3-4 days?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm down.
Kyler, is that cool for you?
Cool. That's fine with me. Heading into the new year.
Yeah. Also, we got to find a way. Like this is right now, it's just going on my YouTube. We can change that. Also, I want to get you guys the social clips. Like, let's talk about a little bit more infrastructure this week.
Yeah.
But I think just getting the reps in is probably pretty healthy. So
cool.
And I love talking to you guys.
What do you guys want to do? Or no, I'll talk to you guys later about it.
All right, let's do a thumbnail. Everybody lean forward and smile so Christine can get our thumbnail. I don't know. We don't have. There's no snapshot. Just like. All right. All right.
Hold on. Do it again.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Christine's been editing these up. She's wonderful. And I'm very grateful for her. She was my first ever hire. So she's been helping me with social. We're ramping up and big help on this. So
sweet.
Yeah. Kyler, we need to get you, we need your help. I'll pay you, but I'd love to get a thumbnail template for this show that I can just kind of run with.
Yeah. No, I'll get something made.
Yeah. And then we'll figure out what we're gonna do with the show. But I'm thankful that you guys are both here and doing this, and we got to get some guests.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. That's what I want to talk about. We'll talk about that next time. We'll organize that.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks to both. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes.
Who do you think sold more cameras between Sony and Canon in 2023?
Canon.
Probably Sony.
I think Sony. We should look that up. And we'll
wait, you didn't know? You don't actually have the answer? Do you know that Canon sells? Dude, what the fuck is this, Sean? Canon sells 50% of the cameras globally. Everybody else shares the other 50%. Nikon, Panasonic,
Canon,
Leica, Sony.
Canon is huge.
Canon is huge, and they're definitely having a little bit of a. They're definitely in a lull, but they're going to come back with a vengeance. I hope.
Okay. I am researching this.
All right, you bring the answer next time. I'm hanging up.
Okay.
All right.
Later, guys.
Peace.